So in this video, I want to talk about a tool that's sort of a mainstay of a lot of people's workflows and I guess entertainment flows, and that is YouTube DL. But it's come to my attention that there are actually a lot of people who don't know about this. So I think it's worth talking about. So YouTube DL is a command line tool for downloading videos, playlists, really entire YouTube channels, and not just from YouTube, mind you. Pretty much any video site, YouTube DL will be able to process. Now, as a tool, YouTube DL, it works on Linux, Mac, and Windows, pretty much everything. Now I'm going to be using it, of course, on Linux, and it's basically in every Linux repository, usually in the main repositories, just because it's a pretty commonly used program, and it's very robust. But in this video, I'm going to talk about how to use it at a basic level. So it's actually pretty much the easiest interface you could possibly imagine for any kind of command line utility. Let's say I want to download this video here. All I have to do is copy the URL, and to run YouTube DL, you just run YouTube DL and give it the URL and just start running. So what this is going to do is it does it differently on different sites, but on YouTube, it's going to download the video feed, then the audio feed, and put them together, and that's going to be it. So as I said, we can download videos, and I'm going to let it do that for a little bit. But you can also download entire playlists. Let's say, I want the i3 Rising and Configuration playlist, right? So I can click on this, I can copy the URL of the playlist, and I can pull up YouTube DL, and spelling everything wrong, and I can just download the entire thing. And if I run this, what it's going to do is it's going to go to the playlist, it's going to detect how many videos there are 9 of them, and it's going to go through them one by one and download each one of them. And pretty much as simple as it is. And in fact, as I mentioned, I think a second ago, you don't have to do it just on videos or playlists, but you can also just take an entire channel URL, or sometimes a topic URL, and feed it to YouTube DL, and it will download the entire thing. So I can just download my entire, if I want to back up my channel, if I think some channel is going to get zucked on YouTube, I can easily just give its URL to YouTube DL, and it's going to download every single one of their videos. Very, very convenient. Now also by default, it has some settings. So if I, just as an example, let's see, this video is about 4 or 5%. If I cancel the download right now and I restart it, YouTube DL will restart in the position you left off on. So it's going to start back at 5% of that video. Nice and easy. I don't think that used to be default, but it is nowadays. Either way, so that's pretty convenient if you don't have to worry about it finishing totally or something like that. Now, of course, it does put part file. You can see these are the videos I've started to download. It does put these part files here, and if you delete them, of course, then it won't be able to start over. But so let's talk about the kind of options you can give YouTube DL, because by default it's just downloading videos, but you can do things that are a little more fancy with that. So let's say, let me actually delete this file. So I'm going to delete this. One thing I can do, let's say I want to, well, if you don't know, YouTube and all these different sites, they don't just have one upload of the video, they really have a bunch of different formats. And in order, if you want to see all the formats that whatever video has, you can just give YouTube DL the capital F option. And what you can do with this is you could select one of these formats to download. Let's say you only want a 720p, size or something like that. I could download only this. So the number for this is 136. So I could, if I only want the 720p, I could just give it the lowercase l and the lowercase f, and the, what was it, 136? Is that what I said just a second ago? I think. So if you run it with that option, you can select a particular thing to or a particular format to download. Now another thing is, a lot of times, let's say you want to download music from YouTube, or you want to download, so here are some audio episodes that really have no video content, but if I want to download one of these, let's say I take this one, I can copy the link, and I want to download only the audio of this file. That's pretty easy to do with YouTube DL. Now by default, I should say, there is an option X, and if I give YouTube DL X, the end result is actually going to be audio, but what it's going to do is it's going to download the entire video and then delete the video and leave the audio, which is sort of weird. So what you should really do is give it the F option and say, instead of giving it a number, you can just say best audio. and then just run that. And so what that is going to do is it's going to take the video, what format it's going to look for is just the best audio stream and nothing else. So no video or nothing like that. So once this is finished downloading, you'll see, I'll show you it, and it'll be only the audio. So in addition to that, while that's finishing, other stuff you can do, you don't only have, so it's not just for downloading videos, you can also get video metadata, you can also get video thumbnails or anything else. So let's say I go to this playlist right here. I'm going to copy it, but let's say I only want these thumbnails. That's what I really want to download. I don't actually care about the videos. That's pretty easy to do as well. Now by default, I'm going to type in YouTube DL, give it that playlist, and what I can do is I can give it the option write thumbnail. And if I just run this, what it's going to do is it's going to download all of the playlists, all of the videos, but it's also going to download all of the thumbnails as well. So I'm going to get those as separate files. And it's going to pick the best quality thumbnail, whatever it is. But I can also give this the skip download option. And what that is going to do is it's going to take this playlist. It's not actually going to download the videos, but because we put write thumbnail, it is going to download the thumbnails. So pretty simple, that's what it's going to do. Now, while this is finishing, let's just double check and make sure our little audio episode worked out. So I'm going to go down to this file and run it, and there's no video that popped up, only audio. And just to be clear, let's open up one of the video files we downloaded. So this is now, I think this is the one that's 720p, that's why it's a little worse quality. So we have that, we have our audio file, and we also, well, I guess I should have gone over them. There are also all these thumbnails that we chose to download. Okay, so we got all those. So that's very convenient. Now, in addition to thumbnails, one other thing I think I mentioned a second ago, you can have metadata. And there are two different ways of downloading metadata. You can, let's just get one video file. Actually, let me actually delete all of these things we just downloaded. Not all the files. All of those with the exception of this screencast we are recording. Okay, so I'm going to delete all those just to make things a little easier. And I'm going to pick just some random file. I don't know, this one. So I'm going to copy this. Now let's say I want to get only the metadata for this file. Now there are two ways to do it. One is I can say add metadata. And what this is going to do is it's going to download the video file, the entire video feed. It's going to download as a video, but the metadata is also going to be in it as well. So if you mouse over that video or you get some kind of, like, it's going to be in the file, basically. So this is one option, but if you don't want that, you can also, I think there's one, I think I wrote it down, hold on. Yeah, so write JSON info. This is just if you're a little more, if you need it for some kind of script. I only say this because occasionally I need it for something, or write info JSON. And what this is going to do is it's going to download the audio or the video, but it's also going to make a separate file that holds the metadata. So this is useful if you're, let's say you want to have an offline library of, YouTube videos or something like that, and you want to be able to parse them based on their metadata or based on some other file. You could easily read some kind of metadata file and do it from there or something like that. Now, one final note, and that is, as I mentioned before, again, it doesn't just work on YouTube, it works on any other site. Even if you have a site that has like paywalled content or something, or you need some kind of login, you can give YouTube DL some options to download things behind if you need a username or password or something. So you can give it the username option, and on YouTube or something, let's say hypothetically I have YouTube videos that only I can see. I haven't released them to the public. I could put in my username and download them with that by putting in my password. You can also give your password, but I always feel that that's a little less secure on the command line, so I just prefer manually typing it in. But that is an option, or if you have some paid subscription to some site, this is another possible way for you to watch stuff. So just bear that in mind. Check the manual, and by the way, one other thing is, let's say there's a playlist I want to download, but one video isn't allowed in the country I'm in due to copyright purposes. There are two things you need to know about that. One is there's an option I for ignore errors, and that is if I'm downloading a channel and one video for whatever reason I can't download, it's going to give me an error and stop at that point. But if you give it the I option, which I usually give it, that is going to ignore whatever errors you run into. But you can also give it a proxy URL. So if you have some kind of proxy you want to go through, it's pretty easy to just give, have some proxy in some other country and just go through that if that's, what you need to do. But of course, you can check the manual for all this stuff. I just wanted to throw this video out there just because I know, weirdly enough, I've been getting questions about specifically how do I download stuff from YouTube. But YouTube DL is definitely the best thing. I might as well mention, one implementation of this I have is that I actually use, since YouTube makes like custom URLs for all this stuff, if you go to my website and go to my video gallery, I actually have, I mentioned like using the metadata for scripts. This whole page on my website, if you go to lukesmith.xyz/videos, this is partially created from the output of YouTube DL. I just take that and just run a script that automatically files everything where it needs to be. So anyway, so that's about it. Hope that gives you some ideas for the kind of stuff you can do, and I hope you enjoy using YouTube DL.